Something that I say along the way will touch you. I know it. Let's begin that process of crafting a meaningful life.
Here's Mary Crafts.
Hi, welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. I'm Mary Crafts, and guess what? This is John Giesler. I have had so many episodes that I've talked about John, but I've never had him on. And I thought, wouldn't that be fun to let you know what he looks like, what he sounds like, what wisdom he has, and what in the heck is it about John more than any other person that has brought me to this point that we're stepping in.
All the way.
All the way.
All the way.
So we were still on vacation. We went on this 15-day trip to Italy, to first Rome, and toured there. Then we did the clipper ship all around the Mediterranean, Corsica, Sardinia. Then we landed in Cannes. Cannes. There's no S on the end of it. It looks like there is, but they don't say that. So Cannes. And then we stayed that night in Nice. And then now we're in Paris.
Yes, we are, and it's beautiful.
Paris is a very romantic place. This is my third time here. But all these things, everything we've done, has been John's
First.
Well, let's back up. I want to back up to one of the reasons I wanted to have John on today, which is because on the second day of the cruise, and we were in Bonifacio, Italy. Okay. It's the most beautiful port, and the moment we pulled into this port, I knew that there was something special about this place. Just these limestone cliffs, and we were just all out on deck watching as you go into this very narrow port. And we got off the boat. We took a little train to the top and walked all around the town. And we're just heading back to the ship, not the boat. We have to say the ship. And up above the beautiful bay. And then something special happened. Do you want to tell them about that?
Well, I kind of stumbled and fell down and got down on one knee. I thought, while I'm down here, I asked this wonderful lady to marry me. Thankfully, she said yes. I was so happy. So happy.
I knew that he was going to ask me sometime on this trip to be his wife, but I had no idea when, and I was not thinking about it at all at that moment. We were in front of Trevi Fountain. I thought about that. We were on the Spanish Steps. I thought about it then. At so many different points, and I kept thinking, oh, maybe this is it. But enough time had gone by. I thought, oh, you're going to do it in Paris. And then there it was. And that's a little bit about why I want to do this podcast today. Because there is something unique and special about our relationship. And I want to share that. So let's go back to the very beginning, 2.5 years ago. We met. I had been married for 28 years and then did a rebound and was married for 5. And then I'd been single. And you want to tell them about your background?
Well, my background is I'd been married for 31 years.
What about before?
And before that, a lot of single time.
And before that?
I've been married once for a very short time. Didn't work out, so we both amicably moved our separate ways. Had one son out of that relationship, great kid. And then I was single for quite a few years, 7, 8, 9 years. And I met a lady and we ended up getting married in 1987. and we were married until, well, we were married. She got sick in 2010, and so for 7, 8 years, we just kind of took care of her and kept her in a good place. And then in 2017, when she got really sick, I decided to retire from my job in banking and spend more time with her. And then 23 days after I retired, she passed away. Went through, all the funeral and everything, got that done. And then for the rest of 17 and 18 and part of 19, I was in a bad place. Luckily, in 2019, somebody I'd met at the gym I belonged to talked me back into playing tennis again, which I had enjoyed a lot when I was younger. And I started playing tennis, started socializing, meeting people, came out of that dark spot in 19 and 20, and then in early 2021, I decided that, at urging from others, that maybe it was time to start dating again. I dated one woman for 2 months, and I could see it wasn't going to work, so I ended that. And then I got on Match.
A week before I got off Match.
Yeah. And the very first person that popped up on my screen was this person. And we chatted a little bit, and I asked her if she wanted to get together and have a date and go out. And this was on Wednesday. And she said, well, I do have some time available
On
Sunday. And I went, what? You're going to put me all the way till the end of the week? And her first words were, I'm a busy girl.
I'm a busy girl. Which was an understatement.
Which I have found out since then was a huge understatement. But, lucky for me, she found a little bit of time on Thursday morning to have breakfast with me in Sandy or Draper, somewhere out there, Sandy or Draper, at a small little restaurant. And
we went for breakfast.
I'm supposed to play golf that day, and she had meetings that day, so we snuck it in. And I remember I'm sitting out in the parking lot, leaning up against my truck, just looking at the mountains. And all of a sudden I hear off to my right, I'm over here.
Because it was really obvious, can I just say, he's leaning against his truck with his arms folded in front of him, leaning back with his legs, crossed at the ankles, staring up at the mountains like, well, I'm here, whether she shows or doesn't show doesn't really matter. He's acting very nonchalant, not looking for me at all. And so finally I'm like, over here.
So I turned around and looked over, and all I could think of was, holy mackerel, does she look great? That's all I could think about. And we went inside, got a table, sat down, and we sat across from each other. And I have to tell you, in 2.5 years, it's one of the very few times that we have not sat right next to each other when we go to a restaurant or anywhere else. I don't like that distance, and neither does she.
A lot of people love to look in each other's eyes, but we love to sit next to each other and still look in each other's eyes, just like we do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that closeness that was really one of the few times we've ever sat across.
And we ordered breakfast.
He didn't eat anything, so I thought, well, okay, I better not eat mine either because I don't want him to think I'm a pig or something. So I left mine because he left his.
I couldn't take my eyes off her and I couldn't stop talking. Maybe that was nervousness, I don't know, but I couldn't stop talking and I just enjoyed it so much just talking with her and then we got up and left and because I had to go to meet the guys I was playing golf with and we went out in the parking lot and I didn't know, do I kiss her? What do I do here? I don't, it's been a long time since I've done this. And so I gave her a hug and it was a great hug. And I said, well, that was good. And then what did you say?
I said, well, Jill, let's just see how good was that.
And we gave each other a kiss that lasted for.
Okay, let's not go into detail.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, we did that. She went to her car, I went to my truck, and I left to go play golf, and she left to go to her meetings, and I met my guys and played golf, and for the next 5 hours, I honestly do not remember which clubs I hit, where I hit the ball, anything. All I could do was talk about Mary and just how stunned I was by her. And she has since talked to one of the guys that I play golf with, and he has confirmed that John would not shut up all day.
Yeah, and I was very the same for me. I all of a sudden had something that seemed very real to me. And that's kind of what we want to talk to you about today. And I want to ask John a little bit about some of those things. You know, we have had this kind of relationship that from the very beginning, people have known that it was something different.
Yeah.
What do you think made this relationship different than anything we had ever had before?
Well, first of all, the very first thing was instant attraction. Second of all, we've had this communication between us that is off the charts. I have never had a communication between two people like this in my whole life, to where I can talk to her, she can talk to me, we talk about everything. The trust factor that I have with Mary has really been put to test on this trip.
Well, it's hard to travel together. They always say, if you can travel together, you can certainly live together. And so, yeah, it's been put to the test.
And it's not that Mary's been put to the test. That's not even close. It's the foods, it's the different things you do in Europe that I was not familiar with. And she has been such a champion to guide me in the right direction. And I've tried everything.
Yeah, he's been a real champion.
And that comes all back to that communication and trust that we had right from the beginning. We've done a lot of things in 2.5 years, been a lot of places, been to a lot of parties, and I've walked into every one of those doing something that was unfamiliar to me a lot. But I always felt so comfortable with her because she made me feel so comfortable. And that's that trust where I trust her and she trusts me.
I think that the reason that we built that trust from the get-go was really kind of a principle that I've used in all my relationships, that when those relationships that mean so much to me. Establishing trust in your relationship has to be the number one thing. It's the most important thing that you can do. Well, how? How do you establish trust? And I think it was pretty clear to us early on how we were establishing trust. And on date 3, when we went out, I felt like, okay, I really like this guy, but I need to know before I go much farther if I can trust him, if he's going to be there. And so the quickest way that I know to get from, distrust to trust is to be vulnerable. And you've heard me talk about this a million times on this podcast, that the healing starts when the hiding stops. And I decided if I wanted this relationship to be different, then I couldn't be hiding. I couldn't be pretending to be one thing and then in my real life being something different. I couldn't, hide from him things that might have been in my past or that were issues with me. I had to just lay it all out there. And the moment that I did that and was willing to do that, that's when the healing and the growth of our relationship began. And I did that and started that on the third date.
Yes, you did.
And I thought, well, he might be going to walk away, but you didn't.
No, I appreciated it. I really did. I thought, man, does that take courage to tell me and show me these things on our third date? Yeah. Oh, but let's talk about that for a second, okay? We went to breakfast, like I said, on Thursday. And she said, okay, I'll see you Sunday. And I said, okay. But then, lo and behold, I get a phone call Friday morning.
Actually, it was a text.
Oh, was it a text first?
Yeah.
Okay, text first. Friday morning, that's right, because you were busy, yeah. And I'm playing tennis, and when I got through playing tennis, I saw my text, and she had asked me if I wanted to come to a training class that she was involved with some people on how to extricate somebody from a room in a hostile location.
It's kind of a bizarre training, okay, I have to say. And I was working with an anti-sex trafficking organization, and they had arranged for this ops day where we could go in and actually train with the ops people of like how to clear a room, how to handle yourself, how to be comfortable with weapons, how to disarm people. Wasn't your normal kind of thing you would say, hey, you want to come along with this?
Well, I did. And so I got over there and met her in the parking lot, and she took me inside. We did all this stuff, and it was great. And then afterwards, I had to leave because she was busy that night, and I thought, oh, that's too bad. Maybe she'll still get a hold of me and want me to come see her again, and we can have dinner or something. But I didn't hear anything that night, so that was okay. And then Saturday, she had already told me she was busy all day doing things. And it was a rainy day on Saturday, and she sent me another text Saturday afternoon, and my version, which I'll keep it short, she basically told me that her plans for Saturday had fallen through, and she said, are you busy? I think it took me about 2 seconds to say nope and send the text. And that's when we got together Saturday night for a date.
For dinner.
And talked, I don't know how many hours. That's one thing that we have always been able to do right from the get-go is just talk, and always entertain each other that way. It's been wonderful. So anyway, we went through all that Saturday night, and I remember the last thing I asked her, I said, does this take the place of my date tomorrow night? And she said, no, you still have your date tomorrow night. So anyway.
So I think that what we learned right away was that this key of having open communication, not playing games, not playing hard to get, not playing anything other than what I was genuinely feeling was the biggest key to our start. And being willing and able to talk about everything, no holds barred.
Yeah.
And trust that the other person is going to accept you. Wouldn't you like to know right off the bat rather than playing a game and find out later on that they really are not going to accept one piece of you. And so we just began to do a lot of things together. And another key, I think, is our sense of humor.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of times when things could be stressful, we laugh, we find them fun, and we joke with each other. If you don't have a sense of humor, if you take everything so seriously, uh, that's a sign of someone with an insecurity, because they need to be reassured, or they are thinking that you might look down on them, or all sorts of things like that. But if you can laugh at yourself and you can laugh at the other person, you can joke with the other person. I mean, the poor guy, he is teased incessantly by me, right?
Yeah, yeah, all the time. But one other thing I have to say is, as Mary just mentioned, the open communication, the laughing, the enjoying being with each other. And for any guys that are out there that listen to this, or I'm not sure if any do, or if there are
Yes,
a
I
few.
have guys.
Okay, good. We spend all of our time together if we can. Now, I know that sounds weird, but we go to the store together and we laugh and we joke in the store. Uh, we go out to dinner all the time. We go out to lunch. We go to the gym together constantly. Mary is learning how to play golf so we can spend more time together. We're both learning how to play pickleball so we can spend more time together. And I never get tired of that. That's the one thing that pulls us together stronger and stronger all the time, is we do things together. Not to say that she doesn't have things. As you all know, she's a very busy girl.
A busy girl, still a busy girl.
She is. And, I have my things, tennis, golf.
Yeah, softball.
I still play softball. But this lady is the biggest softball cheerer in the world. She loves, and before.
I do love to go.
Yeah, she loves to come and cheer on, not just me, but my teammates. And they all appreciate it immensely because she is just so much fun to be around. But when we're not together, we text each other or we call. If we're both busy at night and we can't talk or see each other, we do WhatsApp video chats every night after she gets back from the gym, of course, and we talk every night.
Yeah.
I love it. It's never something like, oh, geez, I got to do this. It's never that way. It's always, I can't wait till she's available so we can talk. And that's just the way I've been in relationships. Like I said, that's part of the relationship that I broke off after 2 months, where the woman I find that the more you're with somebody, the more you get to know them, the stronger relationship is. She didn't want to. She said, oh, I love being with you, but maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. I don't know, something like that. Well, I didn't like that. And I feel that part of the relationship Mary and I have is that we spent a lot of time together early on. I got to know her. She got to know me. As we said, we talk all the time. She got to know all about me, and I got to know all about her.
So oftentimes on this podcast, I've talked about a book that I have loved and that John and I started reading probably month 2 or 3 of our relationship, which is The 7 Levels of Intimacy. Every time we would travel or drive in the car, we would just read this, and it took us over 2 years to read it. And it's not that big of a book, but the reason is because we didn't just read the book together. After every single, paragraph, we would stop, we would talk, we would think, how does that work for us? How does that, what do we do with that? And so we learned early on and decided that one of the things we wanted to commit to in this relationship was to truly understand what our goals were for ourselves and for each other. And if we could develop a common purpose of existence, then this had some foundation. and would be lasting more than just a month or 2 months because we were working on something together. And so for us, the most important thing for each of us is to be the very best version of ourselves we possibly can. And we're working on that every single day.
Every day.
And when you're working on that, the natural next step of that is then to help the person you love become their very best person. And so, yes, I support John in his softball because that's one of the things he loves to do. It keeps him healthy, keeps him doing something he's done his entire life. And so I know that's part of him being his best version. It's why I wanted to learn to play golf because that's part of him as well. Sports were always a part of your life.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to stop with me. And so in wanting me to be my best version and to be healthy and fit, then I wanted that for John as well. And you were always supportive of me. He wasn't a gym rat like I am. But you have become that.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we'll be late at night. It might be 10 o'clock. And I'll say, well, I'll talk to you after I go to the gym. Now, a lot of people might say, oh, I'm going to be in bed. You go ahead and go. I'll talk to you tomorrow. But you don't.
I don't.
You absolutely say, yeah, I'll be here waiting for you when you get back from the gym. And I want you to go to the gym because you are the best version of yourself when you're going to the gym. You get those endorphins going. You get all that stress out. You get to be your best physical self.
Mm-hmm.
And so by having those goals of being the best version of ourselves and wanting each other to help them support their best version, your best version, it has given us a common purpose. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't have, a lot of couples. They don't have a common purpose. They play well together. They might even communicate well together. They laugh and have fun together. But do they have a deeper, abiding purpose together? And I think we do.
No, absolutely we do. It's fantastic. I got to be the happiest and luckiest guy in the world to have met Mary, and that's all I can really say about that. It's just
And that's all I got to say about that.
It's been a great ride, and I am looking forward to the next part of the journey that we have together after last Tuesday.
Yes. So we now are going into a new part of our life, the engaged part. And we'll see, I don't know how long we'll be engaged. I don't know when we'll be married. But the thing is that really from the get-go, we knew we were committed and that we were exclusive. And we didn't mind sharing that with each other.
No, not
So
at
many people don't want to share that. They don't want to say, I want to be exclusive. That's what's in my heart. Or they don't want to say, I want to be committed to you. I want to give you my commitment. That's like a big no-no nowadays. Play aloof, play the field, don't get committed. But that does not build lasting, long relationships. It just doesn't. You have to be willing to say, no games, say, I choose you. I choose to be committed to you. I choose to be exclusive with you. I choose to focus on you. And really, that has brought us so much.
Oh, it has. I mean, every day. Every day. One thing I didn't mention is back when Mary and I first met, after that first breakfast, I got off match the very next day.
Oh, yeah.
I said to myself, this is the person I want. This is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, and I can't be on match and make that work. Because I've always been a one-lady person. I'm not good at two or three. I get confused.
You have to be a good liar.
Yeah, and you can't do that. Yeah, you can't do that and have a relationship that you want with somebody. You have to be open, upfront, and communicate 100% all the time. And we do.
And as we were reading this book, what we discovered was we were reading this book and there were new things for us to talk about. We stopped after every paragraph. And that would be like, but sometimes it went a long time because we only read it together when we were driving on a driving vacation. So sometimes your drives were short. We didn't read the book. Sometimes we flew. You didn't read the book on the airplane because you couldn't really discuss it without, looky-loos looking in and listening. So it took us a long time to read this book. And this last trip, when we were going to Wyoming,
Yes.
we were finally down to reading the last 2 chapters. And they were shorter chapters at the end. But as we were reading them, it's like we got anxious to get to the end. And as we talked about that, we realized the reason is because we had been so many months since we last read it, we had now progressed past the end of the book. And we were like, oh, yeah, we already do that, we already do that. And then, but here's what we're doing now. So, John, as you look into the future and you think about the future, what is it that's going to keep us still in this kind of love relationship 20 years from now?
Well, in my humble opinion, it's living every day to the best of your ability. I try not to look ahead. I try to look every day as a new day with you. I wake up every morning and I think, okay, what do Mary and I get to do today? I try not to look ahead. I try to keep the communication line open. That's about all. I just live day to day with you. And just always trust that whatever happens, it happens for a reason.
So there we are, back to what we started with.
Mm-hmm.
Trust. I can't imagine growing old with anyone else. Not that I'm not already old, but I can't imagine growing older with anyone else other than you.
That's how I look at it. Now let me ask you. Reverse that question
Okay.
to you.
Okay.
And you answer the future with me. What do you see for us in that?
There are some things that have really kept me focused. And I love to think on those things. I love to remember things like when we went to Ireland and we had some very spiritual experiences there.
We did.
That really let us know the level that exists between us. And if ever life's day-to-day junk gets in the way, I remember those days. I remember those moments in time. And so as I go forward, the best thing that I can do is to continue to trust you and to know that you are always wanting the very best for me, as I am wanting the best for you. In fact, just this morning,
I knew it. I knew it.
an example of this is, so I took John to a Michelin-starred restaurant in Rome. And it was a 7-course meal and the wine pairings and on and on and on. And food is my world, but it's not John's. His idea of a good meal is some spaghetti and meatballs or a hamburger and fries. And that's just
cheeseburger.
Oh, cheeseburger with bacon. You don't have to put the lesser tomato on.
No.
And so we're very different that way. But go for hamburgers. I eat pasta. I eat pizza with John because I know that that's what you love.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. He goes to these high-end restaurants with me and will, try a lot of new things because he knows how much I love it. We've done this several times. And so in Rome, we went to a Michelin-starred restaurant, MoMA, and we were seated. And so we told them we wanted the price fixed menu, so they choose all the courses for us. And he's a little reluctant, but so it comes. When it got to the raw cuttlefish that had been put through a spaghetti cutter, so there was just a little pile of noodles that looked like, but it was cuttlefish. Cuttlefish is kind of like squid or octopus, and they poured this hot uh, uh, puttanesca sauce over it, and it tasted wonderful. But the idea for John on that, he was like, "Oh, I don't know if I can get through this," but you did.
I did.
Congratulations, because he wanted to do that for me. Fast forward it now 2 weeks. Here we are in Italy. I wanted to go to another Michelin-starred restaurant, and as I looked through the menu last night, I could see there was foie gras and caviar and uh, just all these things that it was going to be like a foreign country, a foreign planet for John to go here. So, first thing this morning, I went down to the concierge to see if we could change that reservation. And he was right there. And I said, we want to do something a little bit less, not quite so pricey, and with a little bit more familiar food, blah, 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 blah. And she said, yes, she would look to change our reservation. We went back and had breakfast. While we're sitting there at breakfast, I could see he's upset. And I said, why are you upset? He goes, this is something that was very important to you, and you did not give me the opportunity to support you in this. I was like, ah, okay. I said, but it's okay. I don't have to go to a fancy restaurant to have a wonderful time. Having you also enjoy the food was just as important to me. Anyway, then he made some excuse that he had to go to the bathroom. I finished up my breakfast. I went out to the front because I knew, lo and behold, where is he? He's at the concierge desk saying, cancel whatever she said. We're going to go back to that restaurant. Because we were each thinking of the other person. And we came to, I think, a pretty good place about tonight.
I think so, yes.
A nice compromise.
I haven't looked at the menu, but you told me it's a very, very good menu. So that means you
Yep,
will
I'm going to
find
love it.
what you want to eat.
But I also know there's something there for John. And that love and concern for the other person really is such a beautiful place to live. It's this place where sometimes people think that it's a very narcissistic place to think of yourself first. And that is a lie. When you are taken care of and feel comfortable with who you are and where you are, it is the natural outflow to take care of someone else and to want them to be their very best self and to make sure that their needs are taken care of. And John and I are the best at doing that for each other. And I love that. I want you to be your very best self always.
I will. Because I want to be my very best self for you.
Yeah.
And me.
Yeah. So, end of part one with John and I. And the romance, the relationship that brought us to the point of being engaged. But what's next? And I would love to come back on in a year.
Yeah.
And maybe we're married, maybe we're not, but maybe we are. Probably we are.
Probably
we are. And see what skills were necessary to take us into the next phase and what pieces from the old and the beginnings that we held on to that gave us a place of trust and security.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, to be honest with you. That's one thing we have always talked about is what's the next phase?
Yeah.
How do we get there? I've never, in 2.5 years, I have never thought or said, uh, we're in this a year, we're in this 2 years, we know each other, let's just keep moving on. I've never thought that. We constantly are wondering and looking to what the next step is. And how do we get there
To keep it
to
exciting
keep
and
it
fun.
exciting and fun? And like I said, we go to the grocery store together and laugh up and down the aisles. I mean, it's like, it's crazy, but it is so much fun.
And it's interesting to watch people and how they watch us when we're together, because
Yeah.
you rarely see a couple having as much fun as we have. And that's a beautiful place to come from, a beautiful place to live in. And I hope some of the things we've talked about today have spurred your interest. And sometimes I think it might be time to end a relationship, as it was for both of us at different times. And other times it's simply time to reevaluate, what is it I want in life? And if I were choosing things in a relationship, what would I want? And it's true, maybe you don't have those. So, how do I get those? Where do I go? And the first place to always start is right here. And when you start right here, then you know that you're the one that's committed and reaching out. And that's how I feel from you.
Thank you. I feel that way from you. But I have to say one thing for any of you ladies and guys out there listening.
I'm listening.
I never take it for granted.
Uh,
I have worked. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect.
What?
No.
Oh, I'm so
no.
glad you told me now.
I'm not perfect. I have worked at this very hard because I want to. I've worked at this to understand the things that Mary does, to understand what goes into her life, to understand how I can be part of her life.
Yeah.
I told her early on, I said, yeah, I know you're really busy. I want to be that other part. I want to be that part that has nothing to do with your work. I want to be there for you when you need me there. But I have since learned how to incorporate myself a little into what she does.
Yeah, you do very good at that.
And it's just, I've worked at it. And granted, if some of you have been married 20 and 30 years, you go, well, we've worked at it. Well, I'll tell you, never stop working at it. If it's worth saving, if it's worth having, you work at it every day. And we've done that.
We've done that.
We've had our ups and downs. I don't want to make you sound like this is perfect. We've had our ups and downs, but I go back to, we always talk. Neither one of us walk away and go, I'm not talking about this. We talk about it.
You're the best at that. You are
Yeah.
absolutely the best at that. Sometimes I might need some space and time to pout just a moment or two, but you won't let me. You
That's right.
absolutely just, hold me there until I'm ready to talk. You don't force me to talk, but you want me to know that you are there when I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
You get me out of my comfort zone. This morning I was upset about something, and um, John came up to hold me, and I was like, "Nah." But what I was upset about didn't have anything to do with you.
Right.
But he was receiving the brunt of that negative energy because he was there in the room. And you would not allow me to stay in that place, which was hurting me, which was negative for me.
Yeah. Didn't want that.
Lots of adventure yet. It's part of what we do here, crafting a meaningful life. And that's what John and I are about. We're about crafting our own meaningful life and crafting our lives together and helping the other craft their meaningful life. It's not enough for just one of us. And knowing that I am committed to making it with John and that John's committed to making it with me is how we do it. Thanks for being with us, and we'll come back to you again another time.
Nice meeting you all.
Namaste.
Listen to the full podcast today and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and more. Crafting a Meaningful Life with Mary Crafts.